I enjoy working with electricity just like a lot of you do. And I use a lot of these, the wagos. It took me a while to get used to them, but I'm going to show you something that you need to be careful of. That's right. Today, I'm going to show you the 6 most common mistakes when working with stranded wire and how to fix them the right way. So stick around, because mistake number 5 is one that even experienced DIYers get wrong. So let's get started. Mistake number 1 is improper wire stripping. Have you ever stripped a wire and noticed that some of the strands got cut off? Now that's a big problem when working with stranded wire. And it doesn't matter whether you're working with manual or automatic wire strippers, it can happen to both of them. Losing strands reduces current capacity, and it leads to overheating and failure. Rough or even uneven cuts make connections weak and unreliable. Now the first thing you need to do is to use a dedicated wire stripper with the right gauge setting. Avoid twisting the wire strippers. Let the tool do the work. If you'll notice around these strippers, when you put the wire inside here, the cutting edge goes all the way around the wire. There's no need to twist back and forth your wire strippers. Look at your wire, and on each side of the jaws of your wire stripper, it'll show whether it's for solid wire or for stranded wire. So make sure if you're using stranded wire, you're on the correct side with the correct gauge of wire when you're stripping it. Otherwise, you're liable to cut off some of the strands inside there and damage your wire or make it to where not enough current is flowing through it. Then close the strippers completely. Then back off just a little bit and use your thumb to push away from the cut the excess insulation that you're going to strip off. Now, if you accidentally nick a wire or cut it off and you look down and you see some strands, cut it off and start over again. Strip it properly. It's important that the wire is stripped properly and you don't cut off any of those wires on the inside. Now, mistake number 2 is not twisting or over twisting your stranded wire before inserting it into a connector. By not twisting, it reduces the surface contact and can actually create loose and unreliable connections. But the time to twist it is not before you put it in your connection. The time to twist your wire is on the stripping process. When you cut the wire insulation with the strippers and push it with your thumb, only push it half or 3/4 of the way off. Then take the cut insulation and twist while you're pulling it all the way off, and you'll make a perfect twisted wire every time. Now mistake number 3 is using the wrong connectors. Not all wire connectors are created equal. So using the wrong type can lead to loose connections, high resistance, and even melted insulation. A common mistake is using the wrong size wire connector when crimping your stranded wire. So using the wrong size wire connector when crimping your stranded wire, so if it's too small, for example, when you're trying to insert your wire inside there, it'll catch some of the strands and push them backwards, and you won't get a good connection like you need to. Or if you use too large of a connection, you won't get a secure crimp on it, and then when you just pull the wire, it'll pull right out. So the right way is each connector should have the size wire written on the side of it that it will fit into it. And they're also color coded, so you use the correct slot on your tool when crimping. The red goes with the red, the yellow with the yellow, blue with the blue. And if you're ever having trouble with your connectors holding the wire, even though you're using the right size and you're crimping it down, check your crimper to see if the colored dot is facing toward the wire. If you have it facing the other way, it's going to crimp a wrong area on the connector and you won't get a solid, strong holding crimp. And it pays to invest in a quality crimping tool, like the ratcheting one here. Always test a connection by giving it a firm tug. That's a must on every connection. Mistake number 4 is not splicing correctly. Now, this is a real controversial subject. Throughout the years, I've tried many different ways of splicing wires together, along with talking with many people who work with wires and see how they splice wires together. The problem is a lot of people like to spread the wires apart, push them together, twist a little bit, and then solder them. The problem I have with this is that if the solder is not done correctly or it fails, the splice will come loose and you won't get a connection. One method that's been proven over the years is called the Western Union or the Lyman splice. Now this is done by taking two stripped wires, crossing them, then you twist each wire around each other, which gives you not only a very strong splice, but it's one that'll be the same diameter as the original wire itself. And I've always finished this with solder. A lot of people say you don't need to do that. I believe it's very, very important to put the solder on, then put a dielectrical grease on top of that to stop any type of a moisture or corrosion, and then I put a marine grade heat shrink tubing on it. I've never had it fail, doing this for years and years, and I talk to many people who do this professionally. That's the way they do it, and they've never had any problems with it either. Crimp connectors alone, I've had them fail, but never the method I just explained. Now mistake number 5, it's using stranded wire alone on wago connectors. See how easily this stranded wire can be pulled out of a wago connector? And this is the proper size wire for the wago, and it says it will handle that. Now I like wago connectors and I use them a lot. It did take me a while to get comfortable with them, and I still use wire nuts. They've never failed me if done properly. Now I have had wago connectors open up on me inside, let's say, an electrical box, but you can stop that by putting tape on there and then you won't have that problem. But then that does slow down the whole process of how quickly it is and how quick it is to use wago connectors. Now here's what I found out about using stranded wire with the wagos. This is really important. Listen to this. Unlike the solid wire, which has a big piece of wire when you put it inside the wago and it clamps down, stranded wire has a lot of small wires that are kind of thin and fragile. When they're all put together and twisted up, they're strong, just like rope. But when they get inside the wago and they're pushed down like a crimp, it's almost like a piece of metal or an axe head coming down these wires, and it spreads them apart a little bit and then puts a mark on there. It actually dents the wire and it weakens the wire. And when you have that weakness in the wire, that's how it pulls out so easily. Now, you may not have had this problem before. I have it all the time. I never put a strand of wire in a wago alone. So let me show you what I found out. So am I telling you to never use stranded wire on wago connectors? No. I use them all the time, but only with these Ferrule connectors. They're inexpensive. They're fast to use, they make the job neater, and they're so much stronger. You have all your wires, your strands, inside this metal barrel, and when it's crimped together, you have no problem with the wagos ever smashing them or damaging or weakening the wires. All you do is choose the size for the wire you have, strip your wire to the length of the silver crimp part, and then crimp with a special crimper, and you're done. And they don't get smashed, and they don't pull out. Problem solved. And mistake number 6 is not using an underwriter's knot when it's needed. Often I see people put a stranded wire in, let's say, a light socket that will be used for a lamp, but they rely on a connection to hold it there in case the wire is pulled. And this could pull the whole connection loose and possibly damage or short out the lamp or appliance, could even cause a fire. So the solution to that is using an underwriter's knot. Now it's also called a lamp knot, a UL knot, or an electrician's knot. And let me demonstrate how to tie this. When the wire is inserted through the hole, you're going to put the knot between the connection and the hole. So use about 4 inches of wire between your connection and the hole, and start by taking the left wire and looping it under and behind the double wire. Then take the right wire and loop it behind the wire and up through the loop on the left wire. When you pull them together, they make a nice little knot that doesn't strain your wire as long as you don't over tighten it. And that will keep your wire connection safe. It can be used on lamps, it can be used on vacuums, small appliances, and so on. So there you have it, the top 6 stranded wire mistakes that can ruin your connections. So if you avoid these errors, your wiring jobs will be stronger, safer, and more reliable. If this video helped, hit the like button and give me a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments what you found to be the most helpful in all these 6 mistakes. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't for more of electrical and DIY tips. And check out some of my other videos that you might find just to help for the project that you're working on or the tool you're thinking about purchasing. And don't forget to check out my Amazon storefront for the best tools and accessories for your house, your office, workshop, or even your job site. If you want to help support this channel, hit the Buy Me a Coffee link below. And thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.